On May 9th, while in the middle of our epic Wakesurf road trip, we had the opportunity to meet with some folks from Skier's Choice for some top secret filming and testing. We had to get up at 6 a.m. to boat all the way across Lake Norris, which is about 90 minutes away. During our stay, I got a chance to meet and talk with Matt Brown, a head designer and engineer at Skier's Choice. We hit it off right away, and I asked if I can interview him and discuss the new 2018 Wakesurf system on our Super SL and Autowake 2.0. Here is that interview, uncut. All right, I'm with Matt Brown, and Matt, you work for Skier's Choice.
That's
You're
right.
one of the head honcho engineers over there,
I'm
aren't
a
you?
head honcho, but I am a product manager at Skier's Choice, yeah.
Product manager at Skier's Choice.
That's right.
And so I wanted to ask you some questions because I know you know your stuff about this.
Yeah.
And it has to do with the new surf system
Yep.
and Autowake.
Yep.
And I want to tell you my experience that I've had, and then we can kind of go over that. Is that all right?
Yep, sounds great.
So first, the main thing is the surf system on this SL is, I don't know how much of a difference the hull made versus the surf system, but I can tell you that the wave is super clean on both sides, and the wave is super forgiving on both sides. Like, it's almost I don't want to say night and day. Maybe it's not that much, but it's a significant difference.
Yeah, good.
And is that mainly from the surf system, you think?
Yeah, so for 2018, we introduced the Swell Generation 3. And the surfing technology is just growing at a rapid pace in the whole industry. And so we're learning. I'll be honest, we're learning every year, like where these little things that we didn't think made a huge difference, they actually make a big difference. And so when we went from the Swell Gen 2 to the Swell Gen 3, we actually changed the angle of the plates. The Gen 2s were almost at a negative angle, and the Gen 3 are closer to level. And by just moving that angle flat, it really changed and made the bow way less sensitive side to side.
And we've done a lot of experimenting ourselves over the years, and you can see that it produces less like turbulence into the wake. So the wake, you can feel it under the board how smooth it is. Not just the transition, but just the smoothness of the water coming off the boat. It's liquid smooth.
Yeah, that has a lot to do with our plate shapes. Again, we're constantly evolving, trying to continuously improve. And I think 10 years from now, we're going to look back to this year and be like, man, we have made so many improvements since then. But the angle of the plate, how the water comes off the plate, all that makes a big difference. And what you might think is a really small change actually makes a big difference in feel. And that's really what it's all about. It's all about the feel of the water, because everybody has a surf system, and almost every surf system looks like a surf wave, right? But sometimes it's just a little bit more push, a little less turbulence, that makes a big difference in your surfing.
And how that translates, like in the real world, like with your family surfing, is you have a person get up and move, and it doesn't destroy your wake.
Yeah.
That's one thing, because that happens all the time. If you have a touchy wake, and last year it was more touchy than it is this year, you had to really hold everybody where they were. And with this, you move, and it doesn't. You have like 2 to 3 degrees of forgiveness, where you only had that on the regular side before.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference. So my hat's off, because I know that had to take a ton of testing.
Yeah, it does. And we do a lot of testing. And that's one thing about Skier's Choice. We're really passionate about the industry. I work mainly in the Moomba side. We have other guys that work on the super side. And we're using these boats as much as anybody. We all have families. We all have little kids. We're all, and so we love getting out on the boats.
Yeah.
And so it gives us a chance to get out on the boats. But I cannot tell you how many different plate shapes, angles that we've experimented with. And, I think that there's still even more room for improvement. But
how much do you surf?
That's all we do anymore in my family. I wakeboard. My background is wakeboarding.
Yeah.
I used to ride INT, Nationals, Worlds, all that kind of stuff.
It almost makes me cry, though, that there's an engineer that's surfing. Because that does, so many times people that are designing and engineering these boats, they're not riding them.
Yeah.
And I said something to somebody last year. I said, whoever's doing the engineering of this, they are surfing.
Yeah.
You can tell.
We have so I won't give all the names and stuff, but we have a couple engineers that have been there for a long time, and we all started wakeboarding, but we surfed for a long time. And then we have some new guys that are really, really also passionate about surfing. So it's not just one or two guys that are surfing. I mean, we got all of our sales crew is surfing, all of our engineering crew is surfing, most of our marketing crew is surfing. So it's every weekend we're out in these boats, and then every Monday we're like, oh man, we tried that new system and this, or I tried this and this, and oh, what we need to add more cup holders or phone holders or whatever. And so that's really where a lot of our innovation comes from, is because when we're out with our families, right, we want to have a better experience, just like you want to have a better experience with your family. Yeah. So performance is very big for Supra and Moomba, but the other creature comforts also comes from our time on the water. So
right, that makes sense.
We love it. Yeah.
And the other thing, so the other big technology for surfing, which you really hold with the Autowake system, and so Autowake 1.0 was last year, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And this, for lack of a better, I don't think you call it 2.0, but let's call it this.
I think we do actually call it Autowake 2.0.
Okay, so let's say this is Autowake 2.0. And again, there is a very significant improvement. And so what for one, is last year is you didn't have the predictive state.
Right.
Right. And so for people that don't know what that means, is that before, Autowake didn't even start working until you were moving.
Right. That's right.
Right. And now it works while you're sitting there.
Yeah.
And it's, feels where the boat is, and it gets it ready. And again, I cannot imagine how much testing you had to do for when the angle of the boat at rest was like this. What's it going to be like when you're moving? I mean, you just must have had to do that over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. So last year we introduced Autowake, and Autowake was a patented, we have exclusive rights, but it was the first reactive-based system ever on the market. Before that, all you had was rider profiles. They were basically static, and if everything was perfect, then the static profiles would work for that day.
And it doesn't take into account where everybody's sitting,
as soon
where
as
you put your lead.
Right. Move one person, and the profile's no longer
gone.
So we want to do a reactive system. Well, in the transition of going from a static system to a reactive system, there's a lot of logic that has to go in, a lot of testing that had to go in. And so we got to the point where this is pretty good. The downside of Generation 1 Autowake was we sent the boat to a spot, and then we reacted to that spot after the boat got up to speed. Yeah. So the biggest negative behind Autowake Gen 1 was speed. In addition to that, we only had 3 pumps at the time running ballast. And so you got up to speed, the sensor said, oh, I'm off. Then the sensors had to tell the brain to do something, and then the pumps, did their thing, and it just took a while. If you had time, it worked fine. But
we don't have time.
No, nobody has time for that, right?
Yeah.
It's like
when you're my size and you got 2 pulls in you after you've been surfing for a couple days.
You don't have 5 minutes.
I don't have time, man.
Yeah.
That thing better react like that. And that was my next thing I was going to say. Is the other part is that one, it wasn't ready until it didn't start to get ready until you got up to speed.
Right.
So then you didn't even start doing what it was supposed to do. Right. And then second, when it did start reacting, it was slow.
Yeah. So slow to start, slow to react. So that was one of obviously the biggest negatives, and we're always using it, like I said, and we're also always listening.
And it worked, but it just wasn't quite
right.
But now,
so
with the double pumps, it's fast. It works.
So what we did is the first thing, obviously, is we went from 3 pumps to 6 pumps, and so that basically doubled the speed of the time, or cut the time in half it took to adjust. But then the predictive state that you talked about. So the way the predictive state works is we did have to take every boat out, and we had to run every boat at every pitch and every roll. That's crazy. Then get it and stop and measure the static to the dynamic. Yeah. Take off again, get it dynamic, stop, static. And we had all this data. I mean, Excel sheet after Excel sheet after Excel sheet. And then we had to basically create a lookup table. And so it took a lot of time, but it gave us more time on the water, So it's not like we were just out there sweating the whole time.
Oh, yeah, I can understand.
By doing that now, we can, with a really high sense of accuracy, know if we want to be at this roll when we're running, then I need to be at this roll when I'm sitting still.
Resting.
Yeah, and so, man, that gets, if you let predictive state work, it's almost dialed exactly.
Well, and I can say that, okay, from a real world perspective, I mean, from using it, that you nailed it. Yeah. You really did. And I honestly, sometimes, like last year, when they told me you have to use profiles, I was like, what?
Yeah,
I don't want the predictive state. It works. And so we had an experience where, 2 days ago, we went out and we ran and didn't use Autowake at all. We just filled everything up 100%, got our leads situated so that we knew what angles we felt were the best. We came up with 10 pitch, 4 roll on goofy, and -2 on regular.
Sounds about right.
And it worked perfect. So then my experiment was the next day we had Rayo Walker out. We'll show you that video. Is I set Autowake. I made 2 profiles, one for regular, one for goofy. I set it up. I turned it on, and basically I didn't touch it the entire day.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to see. And it worked. And you all know how much of a hardcore surfing family we are. And if that thing couldn't keep up, it would tick us off. And man, I'm telling you, RJ, if he's surfing and the wave changes a tiny bit, I mean, he's like, "What'd you do, Dad?" He gets frustrated.
Yeah.
And he never noticed anything. And we had people like getting up and grabbing sunscreen over here, and somebody goes up to the bow.
Yeah.
And normally I monitor that as the driver, and I make a move back.
Right.
But I was experimenting, and I let it all go.
Yeah.
And every single time the Autowake corrected for it, and it, with the double pumps, was able to react faster than anybody was able to complain about the wave.
Yeah, and because so you said a lot right there of exactly what the manual systems used to require. And back in the day, a good driver was critical of having good
That's it. The good driver has to be constantly watching everything.
Yeah, and you know, as well as I know, you would have drivers you trusted and drivers you didn't trust.
Exactly.
I mean, you were not going to put a new person at the wheel and pull me, right?
Right.
And so the reason why is because you knew that person could see the difference in what the wake was doing and knew how to react accordingly, right? So all the power was in the advanced driver. That's the whole idea behind Autowake. We're trying to take all that logic and put it into the system so that the driver, if he has no experience, can still have a great pull.
Right.
And you can have a good pull without saying, "Oh, this is going to be terrible. Oh, this is going to be terrible," right? Because if you think it's going to be bad, it's probably going to be bad.
Right.
Even if the wake is not that bad and you don't think the driver's going to do a good job, all of a sudden the wake got bad, right?
Yeah.
So it's building confidence in the driver. It's building confidence in the person riding. And at the end of the day, it's not freaking that guy out that wants to get a drink, right? Because I've done that before, man.
Yeah.
I've been like, sit down. Get back over there, right? And now this guy feels like he's offended.
Yeah.
Or you have somebody you've never been with, and you're like, I'm sorry. Oh, you guys are going to have to move to this
Or
side.
you invite new people that don't know you don't move.
Right,
I mean, hardcore surfers know. You sit down, you don't move.
For the whole set, you don't
move.
Yeah.
But new people, they move. But I'm telling you, the Autowake system, the only caveat to that is if you're riding with just 2 or 3 people or a low number of people, you really want to maximize all your displacement. So you may turn Autowake off and fill everything up and tell everybody to sit down and don't move. But when you have a few extra people, Autowake can adjust here and there, and the wake is still just as big. Yeah. And the thing is, the other thing that's super added this year is that amplitude sensor. And I've always said before, and you guys caught up to, or now are totally doing that, is that is the if you have 3 X, Y, and Z. It's the Z. It's the missing piece. And when
it's the most important piece.
It is. When you know what your pitch, roll, and your that amplitude or the draft of the bow, there's no other part of the equation.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because that's what we say all the time when we're trying to explain what Autowake is in the past, people just was so comfortable with rider profiles. Where do I set my plates? Where do I set my ballast? Where do I set my numbers? It doesn't matter.
I've been telling people, don't talk about what your tap plates are, or your smart plates.
Is exactly right. X, Y, and Z, right? And so it doesn't matter what kind of system that you have either. It doesn't matter what kind of boat it is. The boat displaces the water, and then there's a wave, right? And so you displace water with displacement, and there's no replacement for displacement. So the displacement, the ballast, the total amount of weight pushing against the water is the most important. And then what's important is the pitch and the roll. And so what I actually recommend is exactly what you talk about. I recommend use Autowake, but occasionally go out without Autowake on and watch, move stuff, and then turn on Autowake and learn. Because Autowake, a lot of people think Autowake is just for beginners and then they turn it off.
No.
But Autowake is actually just as much for advanced users as it is for not. When I have a brand new boat, what I will do is I'll go out and fill up all the ballast and I will move stuff, turn on Autowake and check my pitch and roll with displacement. go back and move stuff, check my pitch roll displacement. And really quickly now I can learn exactly how much impact a 10-degree movement of a plate makes, right?
Yeah.
When I go from 25 to 0 on the wake plate, what does it do? When I go from 25 to 50, when I go from 60 to 40 on the flow plate or the swell plate, what does it do? And when you learn that, guess what? Now I'm an even better driver. Yeah. And a lot of times I think, I know. But now with Autowake, I can prove that my thoughts are accurate, because when I look back there, I'm like, oh, it looks like we need more pitch. I can go, even if I don't have Autowake on, I can look, and if it's at 8, I'm like, yeah, that proves what I think.
Exactly.
Which means I need more weight in the back or less weight in the front or passengers, right? And then as everybody becomes actually a more experienced driver, you can actually help Autowake. Because as soon as you look in there, instead of Autowake draining, because that's a question we get all the time. Why does Autowake drain? Why does Autowake drain? Well, Autowake can only fill till 100, 100, 100.
Yeah.
And if passengers are in the wrong place, Autowake cannot move you. Right? But you can look and say, okay, I'm at 100, 100, and 100, but I'm still at 7 degrees pitch.
Well, you can move somebody,
I move the
or let Autowake do the thing.
Right,
it's up to
either
you.
or. Right, and if you let Autowake do the thing, you're going to sacrifice a little displacement for ease of use. But you know what? For a lot of people, that's all they need.
Right.
Because for a lot of people, they're not like me and you. A lot of people just want to get out there, hold on to the rope. They're not going to try any 360s, any airs, or anything like that. And they're just like, this is good, because the pitch and the roll make the shape. The size and the push,
or weigh 380 pounds and need every bit of push.
But it's all the same. I mean, because your push is displacement.
Yeah,
the shape is pitch and roll, and so it actually is kind of simple. But we make it so complicated because everybody's like, well, where exactly does my plate? It doesn't matter. Where exactly is my ballast? It doesn't matter, right? It's all about pitch roll displacement.
And I can say with confidence that when we surf from now on, we're going to be just using Autowake. Now, that doesn't mean we might not go experiment and change our angles a little bit and maybe come up with a different profile. But when we're going out surfing with people, I'm going to be using Autowake. And not because I want to sell that system or whatever else, because it's nice. It works. And I'll tell you, one of the ways I loved using it is I needed to let somebody else drive. I got up out of the seat. Somebody else went in there. Okay, what do I do? And I just said, just adjust the speed. That's all they needed to do. And I do have one suggestion for you.
God loves suggestions.
So one thing I noticed is, and I do think with the system, and I know you're heading this direction, is that there's really no reason to use the smart plate with the Autowake system, except that it's too slow. So like if you need to give a little, so when somebody says, I need, need it more steeper, so your reaction would be to raise the smart plate up. But what happens when you do that is it gives you more pitch. But if you don't adjust the Autowake, then the Autowake will start to adjust or add more. So what happens is that so what I do is if somebody says I need it steeper, I'll raise the plate up and it'll come up, but then I change the angle and walk it back down. So really, you could just leave your plate at 25 or 30 and only use the pitch and roll. It just takes too long because somebody expects that plate.
And that's a great idea. And I mean, honestly, we've been trying to do that for a while. And maybe I could get your help, right? Because it's all in software logic and how that. Because that's honestly been the hardest part, because we partnered with Autowake several years ago with Richard Hartman, but it took a while to incorporate it, right? Because there's the idea and there's the implementation. Everybody has ideas, but implementation is hard. And as you know from software, because you're a software engineer, right? The logic of when does it do this, when does it do this, when does it do this, and that's what we've struggled with in the past. But that is the plan, is to get full plate integration and with limits, right? Because you don't want the wake plate to ever go to 100.
Exactly.
You never want a swell plate or a flow plate to go to 100. But what we're trying to figure out, and again, man, we're testing all the time, is exactly what's that range. Maybe the wake plate range is 50 to 0 to 50 or 0 to 25, and if the pitch is in this range, it does this, but if it's in this range, it doesn't, it just moves ballast. I mean, there's all these like logic things that we have to figure out exactly to get that going. But I mean, again, if we do this same interview in 5 years, which I hope we do, by the way,
we should.
We'll be like, man, do you remember when we were talking about getting plates integrated? You remember when I was talking about those angles? Remember that? I mean, the
you're one of the few people that can out-talk me.
Yeah, I'm
that doesn't happen much.
Machine,
I love it.
I got it from my mom.
I love it.
Yeah, but anyways, I think that it's so cool though, because you're passionate, and I'm passionate, and almost everybody at Skier Choice is passionate. And man, that's what really we want to hang our hat on, being the technologically most advanced.
Yeah.
And I know that some other guys have patents that they talk about and this, but man, the path that we're going down is completely different.
It works. It works. I love it, and I'm going to be using it every day, and you know how much we surf, so my hat's off.
Good.
It really does. And you know, that's a good example that I brought up that suggestion, but that's already in your mind. You're already going that direction, and that's been my experience with Skier's Choice, is that in the past there were times when maybe I would bring something up to another boat company or whatever, and it was like something they've never even thought of. And every time that I have brought something up with you guys, it's like, oh yeah, that's what we're working on that already, or we already got that coming. Wait till next year.
Yeah, and we don't have it all figured out, man. So we love ideas. So keep bringing them.
You know I will.
Yeah, and we try.
But the thing is it just it makes me happy. It makes me proud. I'm proud to be, you know, that this is the boat that you know we're using and everything, because they're like ahead of even, you know, our thinking, and we're doing this all day.
Yeah,
I mean, this is what we do. We love surfing.
That's what we love having you. I mean, we're honestly a small company. We are. We don't ever want to be the biggest manufacturer, but in our some of our core principles is partnerships. You know, and we love partnering with people like you, Robert, and we've got some amazing vendors. And because when you have good partners that you can bounce ideas off of, a team, and I tell this to my kids all the time, a team of 5 is always going to be a team of 1. Right? Yeah. And the companies out there that they think, man, I've got all this figured out. We're going to close our box, and this is the direction that we're going. You know, they run out of ideas. But if we have the right partners and the right vendors and the right customers, I mean, because I think you know, but I mean, on the Moomba Forum, I'm on there all the time. I'm Goose on the Moomba Forum. Rick's on there all the time. All our sales guys are on there because, you know, we want to make boats for our families. I'm not going to lie, right? But we want to make customers happy because our customers are our livelihood. I mean, without buyers and customers and people like you, we don't have a company, right? And so we're always trying to listen, always trying to help. And that's some of the other things, like we talked about Predictive State. On the Moomba side, if you have a 2017 Autowake, you can actually upload the 18 software in the 17 and fix part of the problems that you was talking about. And that's what makes customers happy, right? You just bought a boat. And every year, I mean, it happens to you, Robert.
There are companies that wouldn't let that out just because they'd want you to buy a new boat.
Yeah, and there's some things that we can't do that on.
I understand.
If the hardware changes, we can't. But if software changes, and I mean, the software is always changing, right? We can always make things better. And when you get a guy that just bought a boat, you know, that can't afford to upgrade, I mean, you've got this guy happy, right? And that's what it's all about. It's all about adding value and customer satisfaction. So
that's outstanding. But you guys nailed it, and you nailed it because it works. It's better for the beginner, and it's even better for people like us that really do understand this stuff. And all we're looking for is just to get onto the water faster, better. You know, better wake, more efficient. And this boat, it's anyway. I don't even know what you're going to do next year. You know, because see, all you have to do is, if you excite me, this stuff just comes out of me. And so you just keep making boats like this, man. I'm going to be here all day,
forever, right?
all night. And I know you're going to want to come talk about it.
That's right. I like talking. We talked about that already.
Yeah, I know. But that was awesome. I'm going to post this like pretty much just like this. That was great. That was great.
That was good.
Man, thanks for hanging with me today.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, man. I mean, I really mean it. I like people like you guys, right? Because you're passionate, you care, and you're honest. Like, this is good, this is not good. You know, because you get some people that just make you try to feel good, right? And those people are fake, right? And you're like, what's real, what's not real, right? But that's what we like. We like to get the good and the bad, you know? Like when you said, you know, the wake is a little finicky on this. We need to know that, right? Because then I can go back and be like, man, Robert's got an SL. This is good. He thinks this is a lot less sensitive. This is sensitive. So that puts even more emphasis to maybe get the move up angles faster. Right? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. We want to add as much value as fast as possible. You know, because it doesn't really cost much difference to do the angles.
Makes sense. That makes sense. And for the record, when I said the wake was more fitting, I was not talking about the SL. I was talking about the SE, our previous SE. The goofy wake was more finicky. Because on the Super SL, neither side is finicky. They are both forgiving. and easy to hit. So I just,
Yeah, I want to clarify that.
I want to clarify that because this boat has seriously,
Yeah.
it does rock.
Yeah. This boat has been the best seller this year on the Moonba line. There's a lot of awesome features about this. There's this other guys that were in charge of this project, and they did an awesome job. The styling is awesome, but the hidden ballast is big, right? It's huge.
Yeah.
The depth of the boat, the storage of the boat. This boat, it really has been a home run. So a lot of people are, and the new Swell Gen 3 is awesome, as well as the Autowake. So we love it, man. Just still got even more.
All right. Well, I'm not used to putting up 40-minute videos, but I may do it.
Sounds good, man. All right. Well, sounds good. Thanks, John.